So somebody wanted to know, and we had a good laugh about this yesterday. What is the difference between a POPI manual and a PAIA manual?
Like Shamat said, this question is loaded. It's even triggering a little for us at Michalsons. But it's a common question, honestly, that we get, and we still see a lot of confusion about this. So I think this is a great place to discuss this. So, spoiler alert, a POPI or a POPIA manual doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. It's not a requirement. We don't have the equivalent of a PAIA manual for POPIA. So that's good news for you, and not another document that you need. But why is there confusion? Let's actually unpack that. So, as we know, access to information and the Promotion of Access to Information Act requires both public and private organizations to have PAIA manuals. And we all know that a PAIA manual essentially is to give effect to the right of access to information, but also for requesters to know the records that an organization holds so that they can know what records they can request and the process. So that has always been dealt with strictly in PAIA. There's been nothing about POPIA or personal information built into it. Of course, some records that you might have personal information in them, but it was strictly just within the ambit of PAIA. What has changed is that POPIA amended certain sections of PAIA and then required you to put in place, add additional information to your PAIA manual. So that's when people started saying a POPIA and PAIA manual. And that's when people started getting a little confused. So it's not technically incorrect because POPIA does play a role in your PAIA manual, a little bit, but an important role. But that doesn't mean that there is now also a POPIA manual. That's not a requirement. What usually people are conflating is the idea that you need a privacy policy. That essentially explains the information you're processing, what you're processing, the rights that data subjects have, etc. And we've noted also, of course, that a lot of the information that you are required to include now in your PAIA manual from a personal information and POPIA perspective is information that already exists in your privacy policy. So that's once again where there's a lot of overlap and interlocking between the two concepts. And people, I think we did a quick Google yesterday just to see what is a POPIA manual or a POPI manual. And we have seen a few, which was interesting, but it's not a requirement. If someone's telling you need a POPI manual, check twice. Make sure they know what the requirements are. Because remember, almost in most instances in POPIA, there's very little explicit requirements. Remember, it's principle-based. It's different from PAIA where it tells you explicitly what you need. So also remember that the laws are slightly different from that perspective. So long story short, you don't need a POPIA manual. It doesn't exist. You only need a PAIA manual, which is influenced and amended by POPIA.